Good morning friends and welcome back to NPTEL online certification course on public speaking. In the previous lecture, we had discussed the types of speeches, and if you could remember well, we had talked about informative speeches. My dear friends, information is very important in life, but at the same time there are other occasions also which play a vital role in our lives. We come across several situations, several circumstances where public speaking demands speeches of some special occasions, and that is why the present lecture is titled Speeches for Special Occasions. Now, the moment we use the term special, you become very curious as to know what sort of special occasions can there be. Of course, as individuals and also as professionals, we come across several occasions where we need to talk on various issues, and when it is for public speaking, naturally the requisites also become different. So, first we shall see what are these special occasions and what sort of speeches can be delivered for these special occasions. Why is it needed for speech to be presented on special occasions, and how we can make special occasions rather. If we have a look at what Merriam-Webster says about speech, it is actually the communication of or expression of thoughts in spoken words that we had already discussed previously as well. Now, in order to make any speech successful, the basic components are articulation. We have already talked about how articulation matters, then voice, its quality, and then there are several agencies which we have also discussed. Now, when we talk about different types of speeches for different occasions, not only do the needs vary, rather requirements also vary. These types of speeches, which we call special speeches, are delivered to mark the significance of some special occasions. These special occasions can at times be when you have invited somebody to deliver a talk on a very special event, on a very special occasion. Sometimes when somebody is to receive an award, there also one has to deliver a speech, and again when the speech has been delivered or the award has been presented, how the other person, I mean the awardee, how he or she responds. So, there are at times certain constraints when it comes to special occasions, and these constraints are not absolute, rather these constraints are very relative. On the right hand side, you can see somebody delivering a speech, maybe it is for an award giving ceremony, or somebody who has already got the award and is responding to. Now, let us try to categorize these speeches for special occasions. My dear friends, in life there is no dearth of occasions, and there are certain occasions when we as speakers, especially as public speakers, we have to enact several roles. Not only is that every now and then we have to give a long speech, rather occasions necessitate the length and the time of the speeches. So, if we can divide these special occasion speeches, first we can talk about speeches of introduction, then speeches of presentation and acceptance, then keynote speeches, then felicitation or eulogy speeches, commemorative speeches, farewell speeches and vote of thanks. So, all of you might realize that such occasions also come, and when you as a listener go there to listen or to watch, then sometimes in your own heart of hearts, you feel a sort of yearning, as if sometimes you may also be asked to give such speeches. So, we shall devote some time on all these categories of speeches, and I will also try my level best to provide some of the examples, so that you can try also at your own end how you can make your speeches beautiful for many momentous occasions. So, the very first is speeches of introduction. You might all remember that there are certain occasions where somebody is expected to introduce the guest, I mean the guest speaker. Every now and then you are not only going to be the main or the key speaker, rather you also have a smaller role to play, and that role to play is to introduce the guest, and such a speech is called speeches of introduction. At times people feel as what he or she should say while introducing somebody. So, such speeches, especially speeches of introduction, they actually comprise a brief introduction of the guest speaker by the host of the ceremony. I mean, anyone can be, sometimes you can also be given or assigned the task of introducing the guest, and actually when you have been given this responsibility, you actually try to introduce the guest in such a manner that the guest is accepted, because many in the audience members do not know the guest, and you know well how important is the guest and how important is also the topic on which the guest is going to speak. So, such a speech should have an introduction, body and conclusion, as every speech does have three parts: introduction, body and conclusion. Depending upon the length, depending upon the exigency of the occasion, you can make it short or long, but usually speeches of introduction are short in nature, and the person, I mean the intended speaker, when I say intended speaker, what I mean is the person who is going to be introduced has to be invited in the concluding remarks where their achievements should be highlighted. Now, as a person giving a speech of introduction, you are actually facilitating the audience members, making them understand the worth of this person, and that is why naturally there may be some element of surprise in it, maybe there is some element of curiosity in it. So, when we talk about the purposes of this speeches of introduction, so your role as a speaker there is to create a sort of warmth, to create a sort of enthusiasm. You actually act as a person who is going to break the ice, and you are going to familiarize the audience with the speaker's topic, fine, and only after your introductory speech the speaker is invited, but in order to make it more surprising and to make it more creative, what you as a speaker do is you put the name or you disclose the name of the speaker towards the end, but before that you have already talked about his or her achievements. So, in a way, as an introductory speaker, you are helping the speaker's credibility. Now, of course, such a speech is very short, but very challenging, and one must also know some of the cautions which are important while giving a speech of introduction. One has to be very brief, as it is the speech of introduction. Also, one needs to be careful that the speaker's name be pronounced correctly. How can this be possible? Because sometimes we have a speaker whose names we do not know accurately, since he may be from a different country, from a different culture. So, it is always better to gather information about that person, and one very important caution which one should always be aware of is that even when you are facilitating the speaker, it is better not to heap too much of praise or too much of plaudits about the achievements of the other person. Sometimes you may know the main speaker, you may also be very friendly to him. So, you might be knowing quite a good or great deal of information about him, but try to avoid giving embarrassing details. You must adapt your remarks to the audience and also to the occasion. It is better, as I have already said, that you make your introduction very creative and dramatic. Now, say for example, here I have taken two speeches of introduction which can make your task very easier. The very first one is about a cricketer. Now, see how the words have been chosen very carefully. Friends, we have a very special guest amidst us today. It is my proud privilege to introduce to you today a cricketer, captain, commentator and coach. In addition to knowing the gimmicks and tricks of the game, today's guest is also credited with writing a very famous book which many of you might have come across. A sports person who has brought international acclaims to the country, he is an all-time inspiration to the lovers of cricket. Many of you might have heard about the hitting of 6 sixes in 6 continuous balls of an over. I am quite hopeful that most of you will find your time worth hearing Mr. X. So, it is here that towards the end you are going to disclose the name. I am not taking the name, it may be anyone, fine. And now, towards the end, the speaker says, let me not stand between you and the speaker and present to you our esteemed guest, Mr. X. Now, you have seen how carefully the language has been chosen, and we have given some achievements about the person, but it is only towards the end that we spelt the name of the person. The second is also an introduction, and this is a shorter version where once again you greet the audience members and then you say, it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Taylor King, who is a well established accountant and gym trainer, extremely passionate, a person with over 6 medals in weightlifting championships and recipient of the award of the best employee in his bank. Mr. King is the certified personal trainer you will work with to achieve your goals. So, I have presented here 2 types of speeches of introduction, and based on this you can create many more, but see to it that your language is not complicated. It is simple, to the point, and then you talk about the achievements, but in a very short way. Now, apart from introductory speeches, you can at times find that there can be speeches of presentation. Now, when I say speeches of presentation, I mean that when somebody has brought some laurels, when somebody has been given an award or is going to be awarded. Now, in that condition also, somebody is to announce. Maybe you are going to announce the name of the person who has got the award. So, in such a situation also the speech will be very short, but remember well that you need to adapt yourself to the audience. Of course, you must say why this person is important, meaning thereby since he is going to get the award, why, what are his achievements for this award, what is his qualification for this award, and then also tell the audience members about the award. For example, there are many awards which are given annually, there are many awards which are given in some of the conferences, there are many awards which are also given from time to time, but depending upon the frequency of the award and also of the occasion, you actually need to announce the name of the person who is going to get the awards. But one point of caution is very essential, because such awards are often given only after a competition is held. So, as a careful speaker, you must just in the beginning, you already might have witnessed that people often say that a competition is only a competition where people of equal verve and vitality, of equal qualification do compete. In it, some of them lose, some of them win, but then our intention is not to lessen the dignity of somebody who has lost, meaning thereby you are also to praise those who have been the losers or those who have not been able to get the award. Now, when a person gets the award, this awardee says a few things in response. Now, this is called speeches of acceptance. You are going to accept the award, be it an award in a literature festival, be it in an award of film festival, be it in an award for sportsmanship. So, while the awardee or the person recipient of the award speaks something, you may also be one of them. So, what will you do? As a recipient, you will begin by thanking the presenter, person who gave you the award, and also the institution or the organization. So, such a sort of acceptance speech includes words of gratitude for all the help received by the recipient. Of course, such a speech is also short. And remember one thing, the 3 words should be practiced very cautiously when you are responding to receiving an award. And what are these 3 words? You have to be brief, meaning thereby brevity, humility, graciousness. On the right hand side, you can see I have just given acceptance remark. I want to thank the jury members and the complete cast and crew for their endless support. I want to thank my parents and my partner for supporting me and encouraging me in my mission. This award is a dream come true for me. See the modesty, see the humility. All I can say is that I always wanted to leave the role that I was given and never knew I could come true to the expectations of my admirers. I am extremely grateful towards the end. I am extremely grateful and offer my heartfelt thanks to everyone. So, even though it is small, it has been beautifully worded, and I think you will also get such occasions when you are going to respond to or you are going to accept the award. Now, another category of speeches is keynote speeches. The moment we use the word keynote, naturally we start thinking of a conference, symposium, or some academic gatherings where a person who is a celebrity, who is a well-known name, a person who has done a lot of research, such a person is invited to give a keynote speech. So, the word keynote itself says that such a person actually starts this conference or this gathering. Such a speech, according to Lucas, is presented near the beginning of a meeting to guide its thematic agenda. Every other day you find a conference, a symposium is organized on a particular theme, and the keynote speaker will be a person who has done a lot of research and is an expert. Now, in such a situation, such a speech defines the diversity of the audience. Here you do not have selective audience. Here you have people or audience members from all walks of life. Naturally, the importance will be given to the way the person chooses language, the speaker chooses language, and how he tells, how he expatiates on the topic. It actually sets the thematic agenda of a meeting or occasion. Sometimes you may also find the convocation address for which some very eminent personality is called, and that person will not only give something related to while delivering the talk, but will also try to motivate the graduating students or the members. Now, one very important type of speech is commemorative speech, or speeches which actually eulogize, which praise. Now, what is this type of speech all about? These are speeches of praise or celebration. Usually, such speeches are meant not only to inform, but also to inspire others. And when we are called to deliver a talk or such a speech which is commemorative, one needs to understand that it should actually be a combination of anticipation and good wishes. If it is going to be a sad occasion, meaning thereby if it is going to be a funeral speech, because it can be from good times to bad times as well. So, it can also have some amount of lamentations, it can have admiration and respect. It is a special form of testimonial speech, maybe honoring somebody or speaking for somebody who is no more. Most often it is delivered at funerals and in memory of the services that person has done or offered. You might have come across in some of the lectures where we talked about Antony giving a speech, and that speech was for Caesar's funeral, where he says, I came here to speak on Caesar's funeral. Fine. Now, in such a speech, the tone may be positive and it actually focuses on the virtues of the dead. We have taken two sample. One is a very shorter one where the speaker talks about his or her aunt, and then talks about the good qualities of the aunt. My aunt was a vibrant and kind soul. Look at the words. Who lit up the room whenever she entered. Aunt Helen was full of joy and always eager to help out during every hard time. She was in pain but never stopped smiling till the end. She is an inspiration and will remain close to my heart forever and for always. While we are talking about commemorative speeches, I have also taken one speech which I have myself composed, where it talks about a person who is no more, and this person was quite an eminent one. Look at the language. It's a sort of funeral speech. Today we have gathered here to express our heartfelt grief and sorrow in the sudden demise of our most revered politician and statesman, Mr. X. The cruel hands of death have snatched away from us Mr. X. A voice that was always sought after, not only in political rallies, but also in the heated sessions of the parliament, will simply remain a memory today onwards. So, see how the speaker, while the speaker is talking about the demise of a famous political personality, but the speaker is talking about his achievements. And then naturally, while we are talking about the achievements, the tone, even though the tone is a bit sad, but it is actually wrapped in a language where we talk about the achievements of the person. We shall hear no more the poetic numbers suffused with political overtones that could make his opponents admire him. An eloquent speaker, Mr. X, mixed subtle humor even in his acerbic remarks without annoying anyone. Never to compromise with his principles of patriotism, Mr. X stood firm in diplomatic relations even with neighboring countries. An excellent human being, full of organizational skills. He knew how to build party from brick to brick despite the odds. He believed in democracy where numbers mattered for power, but would never hesitate to resign from his coveted post when his party lost majority in the parliament. In his passing away, The country seems to have lost an era of the politics of principles and principles of politics. Look at the words, my dear friends. Will overcome this tough time, but the void left by him will never be bridged. So, this is a sample commemorative speech. Now, as I have been saying that we are talking about special occasions, speeches for special occasions. Sometimes you may also be asked or you may come across giving a farewell speech. Either you are bidding farewell to somebody, and when you bid farewell to somebody, the other person may also say something in return. So, what sort of speech this could be? Because such a person who is being given a farewell has been with you or had been with you since long. So, it is delivered at the time of parting or somebody leaving this organization for joining another organization. So, a speaker on this occasion has to be thankful for the support and lessons learnt in either a good or hard or bad manner. It should always end on a high note, and one point of caution in such a farewell speech is that even while the person might not have been or your experience with the person might not have been good, it is better to avoid negative pieces of information. And when the same person who is being given farewell, so when he responds, at times you may find him becoming very sentimental. So, naturally words are soaked in sentimentality, and you will see to it that when such a speech is delivered, the tone often becomes very somber. Fine. My dear friends, another category of speech is to give vote of thanks. No, it's at times very important while an event is going to end, a conference is going to end, somebody has to offer the vote of thanks. So, in such a sort of speech, it actually has to be very curated, and it is given at the end of the ceremony. Now, here one thing that is very important is that as a speaker, you need to formally thank each and everyone for their support, enthusiasm, and for their assistance for the accomplishment of such an event. Even the common people who might not have been of much help, they also have to be thanked, my dear friend. So, I have also provided here a vote of thanks speech. You can find and you can practice it in your own way. You can have a look at the language. Good evening everyone, I am here to extend a formal vote of thanks. I would like to thank the guest of honor for a wonderful speech. I extend my gratitude to my fellow colleagues and our staff members. I would also like to thank the audience for their patience and support. This conference would never have been a success without the participation of presenters from all the nooks and corners of the country. I thank them all. Thanks are also due to our supporting staff members, student volunteers and research scholars of our department. I also put on record the help and assistance received from different agencies for their unstinted support. Such a grand conference could not have been possible without everyday coverage in various newspapers, and hence I feel beholden to all the media personnel for their support. Finally, I thank everyone who directly or indirectly helped this conference meet its expectations. Thank you everyone. Now, you might have seen here how there is a tone of thanking everyone, and while doing so, you also talk about their enthusiasm and their support. There are also times where you have to give or you invite somebody for motivational speeches. As the term itself says, in such a sort of speech, the speaker motivates. And how can the speaker motivates? Here there can be an element of motivation. Here there can be an element of persuasion, because such a speech can trigger joy, sometimes sadness and excitement among the audience members. One can be motivated by someone who is an experienced person and who has already overcome at times even a serious or a crucial disease. So, you will find motivational speeches are very important, and here you will find the speakers not only have a very careful choice of words, but at times the speaker may try to show you the present day conditions, and by culling information and his own experiences, he will be able to motivate the crowd. There are some other motivational speech examples also you come across every day in your life through TED Talks, which have become very famous. These are mixed variety of speeches where you can also find influential videos from expert speakers in their different fields. They talk about different themes on consumerism, pollution, diseases, business, science, and with subtleties in multiple languages. Then there are YouTube videos, which is favorite among youngsters especially, and with the advent of internet, people get several opportunities through YouTube, and they can be benefited. My dear friends, whatever you are learning today, you are just going to put all these things into practice in the days to come when you enter a professional life. Now, on a lighter mode, you can find that there are certain speeches which are also delivered in certain parties. They can be of different nature. The motive behind such speeches is to please the crowd, to make the crowd happy. The prime function of such speeches is to entertain the intended audience, and during such speeches you need to remember three things, that is optimism. You need to be very optimistic, and the language is not very complicated, and you need to be lively. Sometimes it is also said that people are in a very jovial mood, and you are not going to destroy the joviality of the occasion, and you are going to deliver small talks. Toast speech is also a form of speech where you are going to acknowledge any achievement. You are going to appreciate, sometimes on the occasion of weddings, sometimes on the occasion of birthdays, and in such a situation, people often talk about a memory, they talk about an anecdote, a personal experience, and such speeches are very sought. Then the most entertaining speech is that of after dinner speeches, where people after dinner, they are in a very different sort of mood, very sprightly. Such a speech is often followed after a banquet. Fine. You might have come across in certain literary books and novels how a banquet speech is given. Fine. It is actually a speech of celebration. And finally, we are going to talk about one such speech which is actually meant to summarize. Speeches which are usually meant to summarize an event or meeting. Actually, such speeches tabulate the main idea of any event. It may be of a conference as well. And the key point in such a speech is that what the audience members are going to take away. Nowadays, during the valedictory session, you can find speaker summarizes the events. So, the brushing the key points is very essential, and it is mandatory in the end. My dear friends, having discussed all these different sorts of speeches for special occasions, now is the time that in one sentence we can give the essence of all the special occasions by referring to what Seneca says. It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence, because both speech and silence, they actually tell the speakers a lot as to how one can cater to the needs and the moods of the audience. I do hope that with this lecture, you will be in a better position to deliver some speeches for some special occasions. And the time to wind up this talk. Thank you very much. I wish you all a good luck.